Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Undersecretary Stingel, I was listening to your opening statement, and you made an interesting comment, and I hope I was able to write it down verbatim, something to the effect of that ISIS, or the Islamic State, is already, quote, tapping into an already existing Muslim market, end quote. And then you mentioned, I think, grievance or anger or things like that. What did you mean by that already existing market?
I don't think it will come as a surprise to you, Congressman, or anyone on the committee, that in many of these places where they're searching out sympathizers, there's high unemployment, there's lack of education, there are governments that don't necessarily value free speech. So there is this market of unhappiness that exists already. I think now, because the digital caliphate is shrinking, they are looking for people who have mental health issues, who are psychotic, and they're trying to pinpoint those. But I think we're all aware that in terms of the Muslim world, there are places where there are unhappy youth. Although I'm happy to say the Burson-Marsteller poll that came out a couple of months ago shows that 80% of the youth 18 to 24 in the Middle East completely reject ISIL's ideology, even if they became nonviolent.
Well, there are lots of places around the planet that have high unemployment, some degree of lack of education, some degree of unhappiness. What is it about Islam in particular that causes you to assert that that's an already existing market for terrorism, as opposed to all these other places around the planet that have those similar characteristics but are not adherents to Islam?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's terrorism that goes by many different flags around the planet. Not all terrorism is ISIL-based. In fact, one of the things that we've seen with the metastasization of ISIL is that it's become a brand of convenience for people who have grievances that have not anything necessarily to do with ISIL's ideology. And I should have said this in the answer to the first question. One of the other misconceptions is that ISIL's content is all negative and filled with beheadings. We estimate that 80% of their content is positive, about the beauties and the joys of the Caliphate and the duty of every Muslim to go to the Caliphate. So for many people, it's actually an inspirational message.
Where in the world is there the kind of terrorism that we've seen associated with Islam? Because you mentioned that there's terrorism around the planet. Can you name anything that competes with or does as much damage as what we've seen with the Islamic State in particular, or say in America, Orlando, Boston, Chattanooga, San Bernardino, and so forth? What other area of the world is so inspired to engage in these kind of organized terrorist, barbaric acts of murder?
No, I certainly agree with you that ISIL's terrorism and the effect that they're having is having the largest share of the market and the largest share of concern.
Have you ever read the Quran?
I have not read the entire Quran, but I've certainly read pieces of the Quran and I've studied the Quran, yes.
Let me share with you why there might be an already existing Muslim market for this kind of terrorism that you referenced early on. And these are quotes from the Quran. When the Lord inspired the angel, saying, I am with you, so make those who believe stand firm. I will throw fear into the hearts of those who disbelieve, then smite the necks and smite of them each finger. That is because they opposed Allah and his messenger. Whoso opposeth Allah and his messenger, for him, lo, Allah is severe in punishment. And that's Quran 8-12. Then, quote, then when the sacred months have passed, slay the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them captive, and besiege them, and prepare for them each ambush. But if they repent and establish worship and pay the poor due, then leave them their way free. Lo, Allah is forgiving, merciful. That's Quran 9-5. And then, the hypocrites and those in whose hearts is a disease and the agitators in the city do not desist, cursed, wherever they are found, they shall be seized and murdered. A horrible murdering. That's in Quran 33:60 through 62. Is that what you mean by an already existing market for terrorism?
one of the things that I have seen that Islamic scholars say about the perversion of ISIL's ideology about Islam is they cherry pick passages from the Quran and from the hadiths, which, as you know, there are 200,000 hadiths, and it's pretty easy to find hadiths or parts of the Quran that may contradict each other, and you have to look at it in context. I don't know the larger context of the passages that you mentioned, but one of the issues that mainstream Islamic scholars say is that ISIL perverts Islam by cherry-picking these passages that seem to support its ideology.
Thank you for your insight, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the time.